And we're live. It has been a little while. Sorry, I actually have a meeting every day during my normal scheduled time where I would go live, and that's been happening now for a couple weeks. So my apologies on being a little bit sparse on the channel, and but I am back with a vengeance, and now we have a new meeting time. It's going to be Fridays at 10. Might change around a couple other days, so you got to stay on your toes and see what I can pop up. So my schedule just lately has been a little insane, but for all good reasons. We've been growing at breakneck speeds. We're hiring tons of people. We're still taking on tons of clients, and so just making sure that I can work in the business and make sure that all that is running very smoothly, which sometimes sort of takes priority over our ability to hop on and do live. So I appreciate everyone's patience. Sorry that I've been a little bit sparse on the channel, but purposely making time to come back and wanted to hop on these lives and see if there's anybody that can help. I know I've been gone for a couple weeks, so but I'm back now. So if there is, I know I've been getting some questions in the comments of the videos that we've been posting, so we've been trying to answer as much as possible. But wanted to take a nice half-hour time right now and see if anybody has any questions. I know I missed you guys too, so that's so sorry. Another show. It's been crazy. I normally would go live on Monday at 9:30, and then we had a new client that it's a very large publicly traded company that needed to meet daily at that time zone. So I had to sacrifice my lives just to make sure that we can do the best job as possible for that new client. And so, yeah, my apologies for being a little off. It says, hey, Darko, question: is Performance Max superior to Smart Shopping in terms of results of what you've seen? Yes, with some caveats. I've been testing Performance Max at a very high level. Performance Max, I have probably about 30 of them running right now, all at the same time. And Performance Max is, if you don't add ad copy to Performance Max, like if you don't add the 5 headlines, 5 long headlines, 5 descriptions, 15 images, and 5 videos, it actually is a smart shopping campaign under a different name. So it's not necessarily when June comes around and Google forces you to upgrade automatically your Performance Max and local your smart shopping and your local campaigns to Performance Max. If you don't add any ad copy, it's not going to upset anything. And here's the golden rule: Performance Max, when you start to add assets, is going to overtake any existing campaigns if it's going to get better performance. Now, there's some discussions and topics around. I don't want to give any secrets away from Google because Google has obviously been testing this as well. But I can say what we have seen is that search campaigns with exact match keywords, have been able to sustain their own campaign impressions and click amounts, and are not being overtaken by Performance Max. Now, campaigns that are still running on broad match modified hopefully don't have those, but broad match, phrase match, and of course broad match modified, those have actually been seen to be being overtaken by Performance Max. Smart shopping has been overtaken by Performance Max, except for some of the display areas that existing smart shopping campaigns can work. Display has been overtaken by Performance Max. So a lot of times, even some YouTube campaigns have been overtaken by Performance Max. And so what's interesting is the way that Performance Max works is the way that I've been using it most efficiently is, well, I guess a couple different ways. One, I use it as a bolt-on. So I run my, let's say, 5 or 6 campaigns. I bolt on Performance Max at a lower spend to see what dips and what Performance Max picks up. If Performance Max thinks is going to get a better result, it will simply steal traffic away from those other campaigns. It's going to be the one that enters into the auction in that channel. And in that channel is important to know, because Smart Shopping and Performance Max are going to overlap a lot. And just the benefit of Performance Max is you're going to be able to get a native ad in those channels rather than simply just a product ad in those channels. So when you're talking about the efficiency, bolting on Performance Max and a lower spend, you can kind of fill in the gaps on where your campaigns are missing the mark. So if you had, let's say, 10 people in an audience, and you're running a YouTube campaign, and those 3 people are on YouTube, Performance Max is going to pick up the other 7 who are on display and elsewhere, search and shopping. So what's interesting is you can kind of use it as a bolt-on service, but the part of Performance Max that I think has been really good is using different bidding strategies you're able to control the overlap. So if you're running maximized conversions on every other campaign, but using performance max at like a target ROAS of 400%, you're actually going to be targeting different audiences. There's going to be some overlap, but performance max, when it believes it can make a good sale, is going to actually steal away from the ineffective campaign and then do a good job, and then you scale that performance max campaign up. So there's going to be more developments as we test. What I can't tell you though is every single account is different. Every single account. What I thought worked in one account was the complete opposite in another account that didn't even work in one account that worked perfectly in another account. Like they're all over the place. So it's really dependent upon your audiences, your conversion actions of what's been getting conversions, who has been converting on what channels, and that's where performance max is going to take over and be more effective. So you want them to work together, and you'll want them to be like kind of harmonious when you're talking about the relationship between performance max and all of your campaigns. But you can start off small with small budgets, high goals, and see how you can blend those two together. One campaign I've been able to double spend and keep the same ROAS, and Smart Shopping is running at 30% of what it used to, but Performance Max is running at 120% of what Smart Shopping used to run at. So now my overall spends are increased by 150%, which is more than double, and I'm actually keeping the same ROAS. So it's doing a good job at finding new markets and remarketing really well. So I would say test it, but test it small. And so if you just turn on Performance Max with a maximize conversions or maximize conversion value and give it a huge budget, you might see like 4 of your 6 campaigns just dip, and this would have mediocre results. So make sure that you're setting both your targeting in your audience signals, or your target signals, your audience signals, and then make sure that you're setting bidding strategies that aren't too competitive. Like don't just run 2 campaigns, the same bidding strategy, same daily budget, and say like which one's going to win. You could do that, but you're going to have no control over it. So using bidding strategies to a high degree, using small budgets on Performance Max and seeing how to blend those two together, it's going to be really good. But it will fill in the blanks on those individual channels that are not able to kind of cross-pollinate. Search never just going to jump over to display effectively and remarket to a user that brought in from search, but Performance Max can. So those two will work together. So very Smart Shopping-esque, but very aggressive is what Performance Max has been doing. Alicia, we have seen our retargeting ads part of our buyer journey via Google Analytics, but hasn't ever landed into an attributable conversion. Clients want to stop them. Thoughts? They say they're helpful. Alicia, if you go into your tools and settings, go into conversions, go into settings, make sure that the box is checked for view through conversions that says show your view through conversions in the all conversion essentially column and all conversion value column for view through conversions. Where I see remarketing and retargeting ads missing attribution is based on obviously one, your attribution model. If you're running first click, technically your retargeting should never earn a conversion. If you're running, that's one thing to think about. It's kind of a funny thing, but yeah, first click attribution, retargeting should never get an attribute for getting conversion. The other part is open up the all conversions and all conversion columns, and then segment by conversion action, and look to see, did you have a view through conversion in those retargeting? And you should see some there if that box is checked in that area that I just told you about, which is tools and settings, conversions. Go over to settings, and then check the box for all conversion values should have view through conversions. That should help. And that will give you kind of an indicator of like, yes, the people that are actually seeing these are converting, but they might be converting on different campaigns or coming back to the brand campaign. But this at least gives you the hint of, is it relevant? Also overlay your, or you should have analytics integrated. And if you have analytics integrated in your main campaign columns, go into columns and then look at Google Analytics and do bounce rate, pages per session, and session duration. And if you see your retargeting getting good clicks and low bounce rate and high pages per session, high session duration, it's relevant. It may not be the high converting, but it's getting a good brand and good, it's engaging in a good audience. So it's a good indicator. Those 2 things to look for. And if they both look bad, then, you can shut off and test. But those are areas that I would say like, no, I know they don't get quote unquote conversions, but we're hitting the right audience. They're getting to the page. They stay long, yada, yada, yada. So hopefully that helps. Can we track third-party embedded form on our website? Yeah. Absolutely. If you have a third-party embedded form on the website, a lot of times like HubSpot as an example, you can actually take HubSpot and that form will actually ask the page to redirect to a different page upon form submission. So if you're using like an iForm or an iframe form, it's going to be up to the actual third-party form itself. Not all third-party forms can do this, But if you're using a good third-party form like HubSpot can be embedded into a page and then actually redirect that page to a thank you page upon a successful completion of a form submission. And so now, you're using GTM or analytical, whatever it is. Hopefully GTM, not analytical, because it's horrible. But if you wanted to track the thank you page, that iframed or even embedded form can redirect the browser. That would be my number one doing so. If you use the form submission trigger instead of GTM and you're using the embedded forms, a lot of times what happens is that embedded form will fire upon load. And it just says, yeah, that form submission loaded, so it must have fired. And so it sometimes counts those conversions every single time someone visits that page. So if you can redirect, I would highly recommend using a quality third-party form that can redirect to a thank you page. You shouldn't have any issues at all. Dave, hey Dave, hey John, my PMAX is about double the cost per conversion compared to search. How long should I give it before I pull the plug on PMAX? It's been a month. Well, it depends. If it's Dave, what is your attribution model first? That's the first thing I'll need. And what is the CPC difference between Performance Max and search? And is search also including a brand name? So 3 questions. What's your attribution model? What's your CPC between PMAX and search? And are you considering branded conversions to be part of your search? And then I have another question after that. Awesome. Thanks, bud. You got it. Derek says, how to target only to customers who have only visited cart page or checkout pages, but haven't made any purchase. Should I create 2 different campaigns for it? No. First thing you want to do, make sure you link up your analytics to your Google Ads. Go into analytics, go to admin, go to audience definitions, and then define a new audience. That new audience, you can actually choose behavioral, device, location, demographic. You can have a whole bunch of new cool stuff in there. And that inside of analytics, when you build that audience, says they need to stay in this audience for 100 days. That's my subscription. So the person's in this audience for 100 days. They have gone to this page. They have gone to that page. They have not gone to any page that contains a thank you. As an example, your thank you page. And these are people that have visited certain pages but have not purchased or checked out or filled out a lead form, whatever it is. Import that audience into Google Ads and then use that as your audience targeting for a campaign. Are you adding GA4 to all accounts yet running parallel with UA? Yes, we are, unfortunately. I don't like it. It's interesting. It's taken a issue with UA, said, oh, it should be fixed. And it's actually replicated that same issue in GA4, just under a new name. So what's interesting is I'm actually starting to see where I would get 2 segmented out of sessions in GA. I'm now getting new replicated users with events. So as an example, I have a session that goes and converts, and then I have a session that goes and doesn't convert, but that was the same session. Just UA counted as 2 different people because of privacy. In GA4, it says user 1 had an event and converted. User 2 had an event and converted. That's the same user. So I don't know if they're just working on it or if I'm not using it correctly. I'm not an analytics expert. I'm an ads expert. So analytics is not something that I usually use just because the attribution models are so terrible that it doesn't really help me with Google Ads specifically. But I'm having the same issue with GA4 that they're just replicating events rather than separating out users. So instead of one user being split twice, it's one user duplicated twice. So I'm still working on it. I have no idea what that is. Looks like I'm going to try to pronounce this name because I think it's someone smashing the keyboard. Rakuzabeb Haruxafuzakwa Vamred. I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. Nihal says, wow, amazing. Yeah, you're welcome. Hopefully that works for you. Chris, when it comes to adopting new Google features, where are you drinking their Kool-Aid and where are you not? Example, features would be auto-apply, recommendations, broad match, etc. Broad match. So auto-apply. Auto-apply has been around for about 8 months. I had a video like 8 months ago that Google was already doing this without your knowledge. It was just in a different part. It was called like Partner Dash. You can go into Partner Dash and find out that your account's actually been added to auto-apply, and then you had to go to Partner Dash, which isn't even a part of Google Ads, and then uncheck the box. Well, they brought that into Google Ads probably because people are like, what the heck is this and why is it messing me up? And now they just auto-apply everyone into the auto-apply recommendations. I stopped those immediately. I know that we have a complex strategy around a specific campaign. I can't have my non-brand campaign have keywords added of brand because it's going to get more conversions. So I don't let it select keywords because they're segmented out for a reason. I don't let it switch to maximize conversions. If I'm using target CPA and I have a high, here's a crazy one. I have a target ROAS. I'll sometimes set a campaign to $5,000 per day, and the target ROAS of 400. I might spend $1,000-$2,000 per day, and I'm like, great, I'm more than hitting the budgets, and I'm getting good performance. And if there's room to grow, then it'll grow on its own. Well, Google just said, hey, maximize conversions. My spend would go from $1,000 a day to $10,000 a day. Bad idea, because I'll probably get sued because I spent $100,000 of a client's money without them even asking. So I don't let it control everything, because I make a change and I know exactly when I need to interpret what that change has been, good or bad, and then change it from there. I can't have that just be changed for me. So autoplay recommendations, never in my life. Never say never. Never in the foreseeable future. Broad match, love broad match. Broad match, the way that you get around any sort of inefficiencies with broad matches, Chris, is if you have broad match, make your form harder. I have a campaign that uses 2 very stupid, simple keywords, delivering me $50 leads at a scale that I can't even stop if I want to. I went from $1,000 to $8,000 in a month, and just scaled perfectly without increasing my, well, no, it increased my CPA by like 20% though, but it increased the campaign activity by like 800%. But the difference was, when you take your form and you make your form harder, it actually allows Google to do a little bit more accurate targeting. So as an example, if I'm a broad match person and I need to fill out an email form, well, I have a junk person in my campaign filling out a form that is like kind of a crappy email. But if I leave it on broad and I say, hey, I need to know the first name, last name, email, phone number, the size of building you want built, the height, length, width, how did you hear about us, and all these are required. Well, broad match now has to work harder to find the relevancy, but it'll do it very efficiently. So make your form harder to push away the junk and pre-qualify those leads. Then broad match becomes much more relevant. E-commerce is the same thing. Lead quality doesn't matter in e-commerce. It's did they buy or did they not buy? So setting really high restricted goals and giving it a lot of broad match keywords. You have low budget, start with low. If you have a high budget, start with medium. But just know, because broad matches can go to like 1,000 different search terms, but keep your broad match long tail and a few of them, because they're going to go far and wide, to make sure at least they're relevant and far and wide. Don't just say like shoe, be like best red running shoe for tennis. Okay, that can change into like a few other variations, but it's gonna be long tail enough to control it. But make sure that obviously your keywords are getting good search terms and you're playing negative keyword catch-up game. So let broad match do its thing. Just set barriers elsewhere, like a long tail broad match or a hard form. That should help you. But anywhere else, like Performance Max, I dove right in head first because I think that I understand the model. When I understand what I know a certain account, not a campaign, but an account will do with a new campaign type, because Google, that account will know an audience, will know the landing page, will know the conversion action. Those are 3, like the trifecta of what it knows it could do. So if I take this new campaign and start to run it, I know, okay, Google knows this about these audiences. So how is this going to affect that conversion action? And you just kind of identify the personality of that account. And that's how you'll be able to kind of control it. Doing my homework. Hold on. Derek says, thanks, you got it. I'm gonna run new campaign for custom leather jacket e-commerce in USA. What are your top recommendations? Which campaign should I start with? I would start with smart shopping. I think that anything visual based smart shopping and display to a small degree, anything visual is going to be good. I don't like for anything e-commerce, I don't like DSA too much. I don't like search because I have to pay Google to show you what the product looks like and the price. So I don't like search very much. Anything visual based. So if you, depending on your budget, some ones that I would consider is display, discovery, Performance Max on a smaller scale, shopping, and YouTube if you have good YouTube videos. But this needs to be visual. That's first and foremost. I would stay away, honestly, from search and DSA, which is usually really good. But again, because it's up to, is your jacket awesome looking? Not just is that a good price and a good quality, but do I like it visually first before you have to pay Google? Attribution position based, okay. CPC, Performance Max 50, yeah, 54 cents, 512. Branded is in search, but not well known, so almost no clicks on branded. Okay, so what Performance Max is doing is saying, okay, I can't compete with your search campaign, so let me see if I can hop on display and do remarketing as well. So what Performance Max is doing is, I've been seeing that the indication of CPC is telling you what channel it's on. So your search is at $5, awesome. Your Performance Max is kind of going everywhere else. We all know that display is not the best converting campaign, but it is doing a good amount of remarketing. So I would actually take your Performance Max and reduce budgets down drastically. It's gonna essentially be a remarketing campaign for your search campaign. It's just on all 6 networks, but it works very efficiently. If you can imagine putting a native ad in front of a user that you're remarketing to from a quality inbound search, that's a good indication. Just don't spend a whole bunch of money on Performance Max, because it's going to go outbound as well as remarketing. Limit your budget or turn up your ROAS goal, but knowing that your search is $5, I can guarantee you that Performance Max is not on search either. It's not competing. It didn't take over. It says, I don't think I could do a better job than this, so I'm going to go this way. Here's a good question, Dave. How much would you spend right now on display and YouTube and discovery? If you're like, probably like 1/4 of what I'm spending on search, that's what you should put your Performance Max budget at. What do you see your agency doing in 2 years from now? It seems that PMAX DSA is the future, and everything is going to boil down to data hygiene, web copywriting, and creative thoughts. Oh, yeah, it's a really good question. Performance Max right now is the new frontier, and it's actually really exciting because you can still run it comparatively to other campaigns. So I can still run my existing campaigns. Performance Max without ad copy is still just smart shopping. A lot of companies that we work with, they can't just let Google have one campaign and let it run. So you have to control Performance Max. For example, smart shopping right now, if you turn it into Performance Max and don't add the 5 headlines, 5 long headlines, 5 descriptions, 15 images, and 5 videos, it's now just smart shopping under a new name. Nothing changes. Now, for the companies that just bolt on Performance Max and does really good, and they say, hey, I don't need to change this, I don't need to sell certain items, I don't need to stop selling certain items, I don't need to show up in maps, I don't need to do this, and I want to have any control over pretty much anything, they're not our client. They don't hire us. So it's like, yeah, if I don't really care what the performance is, but if it's like I need to hit X amount of sales and X amount of numbers, you can strategically use Performance Max. DSA is harder than anything else. DSA, unless you can't use landing pages on DSA, you have to have good SEO practices on DSA. There's a lot of things that DSA cannot do on its own. And then also, when you launch a DSA and have good performance, if you look at the search terms, they're branded. You can't imagine the amount of clients we take on because they're like, yeah, the only 2 campaigns running good are DSA and brand. I'm like, well, your brand's brand, your DSA is getting conversions from your brand name, and everything else is below 1x ROAS. So I still think that there's a lot of potential for agencies in the future. There's going to be some people that just run a Performance Max campaign and it does really well. But Performance Max, when you go look at the insights, search terms a lot of times are the brand, or it's remarketing all of your other efforts, so you're doubling down. So for example, we have clients that run Performance Max and get a 5x ROAS, and they look at insights as their brand name. Plus, when you look at the Northbeam tool, it's the 7th click in a email string, and they just basically did remarketing. You do that for about 6 months, you find out, holy crap, I spent $30,000 in Google Ads, and my net went down 2 percentile points. Is because you're spending money on the existing audience, or people looking to find you anyway. So a good advertiser will be able to identify this. A bad advertiser say, I don't know what this is doing, and it should be good for you. So I think that it actually raises the bar that agencies now need to be better than ever. Otherwise, Performance Max, as an example, is going to trick the original advertiser into thinking this is a good idea. And then the original advertiser, who is possibly a person inside of a company, is going to say, yeah, Google didn't work. We spent a whole bunch of money and our bottom line dropped and I got fired. So it actually raises the bar into knowing how exactly these campaigns work. And anybody running Performance Max, I challenge you to hop into the insights in the last 7 days. See if your brand name is a search theme. Now you're just running a brand campaign on search. So I think it's actually going to get you're going to cut out probably half of the bad advertisers that don't know how to use this. And we're going to be a shrinking pool of like the best advertisers or best ad agencies are going to rise to the top and say, here's exactly how we have to manipulate this so you don't actually just repay for everyone else. Instead, automation leads to branded conversions, period. I almost use 0 auto apply. Yep. But my Google recipe keeps pushing me to add more, but I resist. I'm afraid one day resistance is futile. No, it's not. Google, here's the thing is if it auto applies, you're going to turn it back. I don't believe so. I have another company. I'll just use the abbreviations AEC. It's a veterinarian clinic in Florida. Had their Google rep hit all the auto apply, and we're on day 3 of just horrible performance. And I'm like, hey, can I change this back? And so they said, yeah, go ahead. They wanted to try it because they wanted to get the Google person off their back. But they split out the campaigns. They messed up the actual daily ad spend. So it spent $1,500 a day instead of $700. Google is not giving them a refund, so that's really fun. The other thing is they messed up the times. They were supposed to run only from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. overnight, and they swapped it so that it didn't actually run overnight, ran during the day when they were closed. So if it does happen, you're going to see a massive pushback. But if you're good in watching things, you should be able to just turn it right back to the original one as soon as it does happen. So yeah, again, good advertisers rise to the top. That one's just gonna be like, oh, things are going haywire, it doesn't work, and then you have to call someone that knows what they're doing. Thoughts on pausing campaigns for a month? Will conversions drop off? Zach, Google has a 2-day rule. After 2 days, Google stops watching anything you're doing. So if you pause for 3 days and you restart your campaigns, it's almost like starting them from kind of day one with the added benefit of knowing the conversions, where they should be coming from. So it knows the audiences, it just doesn't know who in those audiences because it stopped watching them for the automated bidding strategy. So just know that there's going to be about a 1 day to 2 week lag back up when you relaunch. Kind of sounds like you're using SCAGs with long tail broad match, or are you doing several broad match? It's long tail SCAG, but it's not single keyword ad group. It's one ad group with multiple keywords, but I'm starting with like 5 because those five keywords, Dave, and broad, even with long tail, are still going to turn into 274,000 search terms. So it's not SCAG. It's essentially crowdsourcing search term information to a small amount of long tail broad keywords. I just came in here to say have a good day and smash the like button. Thanks, Average. I appreciate it. Hi, my first time here. I'm from Brazil and I'm a big fan of solutions they work. Thanks, Daniel. My question is, in your opinion, what is the main sources for stay up to date about Google Ads? Man, one here, which sounds so stupid, but I test. I don't have theoretical or reviewed information. I can literally pull up 5 accounts for everything I talk about and say, here's exactly what happened. I base it off of pure experience. I think that's the best way. So when we have an update on experience, we'll post it to our YouTube channel. But other one is EdLeaks. EdLeaks is fantastic. Uzair is really, really good. He's been featured on our channel before. Those 2 people, I love them. So Uzair and EdLeaks, amazing people. That's who I would go for. Dave, I'm $93 in search and $60 in PMAX now. Yeah, I would say you could probably bring PMAX down to like 25. Just let it fester. It's going to need like a smart shopping ramp up. So you're going to probably need, some time. But right now, PMAX is basically saying, hey, I don't really have a good audience. And for remarketing, I can't compete with search. So I'm going to go to, and it just goes out wherever it wants. And as long as it gets kind of some conversions, it's going to keep doing so because Google likes money. It's going to have that run. So just kind of hold that. I'm so sorry, everyone. I do have to run. I'm going to drop my email here in the chat. I'm heading out of town today, but I will get to any questions. I know it's been a while. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions. Please email me with any questions, and I will get back to everyone as soon as possible. I just have a call starting in about 1 minute, so I appreciate everyone. Thank you, and I will see you all next week.